Nice.
Oh, hey, Mr. Spina, here we go. We're going to
Hey,
review
let's
our
do it.
fourth grade science baseline. So you guys did some of these questions last week, so you should already have an idea. So we're going to go very quickly through these. So everybody pause and get your answer for number one. Okay, Mr. Spina, what's the answer to number one? It's always going to be the answer.
Sun.
We've talked about the sun in all of our videos. It's the most important thing you need to know. It's literally the root of everything. All right, let's look at, don't let this trick you because the sun is not in this picture.
Oh,
But it is the start of everything. This is one where you've got to look at each choice and pick the best one.
no life without the sun.
All right, pause me and take a look at number two. Okay, Mr. Spina, the key to number two is which of the following is not a possible source of energy. So
That's
if you
a
don't
rock.
read this word, if you don't read the word, if they don't read the word not, they could pick a lot of these.
No,
The answer would be what?
rocks.
Make sure you pay attention to the words. Okay, do number three. Okay, the key words in number three are the sound had a high pitch and low intensity. Well, a baby crying is very intense, so it can't be that.
No,
A car engine does not have a high pitch.
Loud.
It's more of a grumble and loud. A kitten meowing would be low intensity, means it
That's
doesn't
it.
happen. It's not like meow, 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 meow. Right? Isn't that what
That's
intensity
it.
means?
The answer is C.
So make sure you pick C. A dog barking, that is not a high pitch. That's a
That's
low.
annoying.
That's annoying. All right, number four, pause it and get your answer. Okay, number four, the main question here is measure to determine the speed of each car.
Ooh, Wisconsin. Which one is that?
The speed of each car, you need to measure the distance and the time. Now remember, the size, that doesn't really matter. A big car could go faster. A weight of the car and the time, but what if they don't all go the same distance? And the weight of the car and the size of the car, once again, these two leave out distance. They all have to go the same distance, or else it's not going to be a good measurement of which one goes faster. All right, pause and do number five. Mr. Spina, what's the keywords in number five that tell them which side of piece of type of rock to pick?
Volcano. That's
Right when you see
volcano.
liquid, rock,
Yeah.
or volcano. We're going to talk more about these. You've got to memorize these. You'll never get them right unless you memorize the different types of rocks. All right, do number six. Pause the video. Okay, so
Steve.
Sam wanted to celebrate Earth Day. He came up with some ways to do it. Only one.
Saving the environment. The only way, Miss Conklin, how can you save the environment? By doing what?
Only one of these is good for the environment, right? Overfishing means you fish too much.
That's it.
Mining means you dig big holes in the earth and tear it up. And deforestation means you cut down all the trees.
Too
So
much.
make sure you know what those mean. All right, number seven. Pause and get your answer.
Ooh.
So the answer to number seven is the new moon. And that's because when you can't see the moon, it's a new moon, right, Mr. Spina?
Exactly, and she's sitting in North America. So look at it, North America, right there with Florida, right in front of you. You can see, they can't see the moon from that.
You'd be looking out this way, and you can't really see the moon because it's off to the side. All right, let's keep going.
Great.
Pause and do number eight. Okay, number eight just wants you to know how many populations there are. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
That's it. Set them up.
You've got to just pay attention to your chart. All right, let's keep going. Pause and do number 9.
Ooh.
Mr. Spina, what are we missing in number 9?
Oh, Miss Conklin, what do you think we're missing there? The producers.
We're missing because remember, something's got to produce these in this chart, right?
Yeah.
And that would be things like the things that the fish eat and the squid eat.
Yeah, like the plankton and stuff like that. All that kind
Yeah,
of
little things like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
don't let that one trick you, because you should be able to eliminate these ones. Top level consumers, well, that's the killer whale. And then the other consumers are on this chart. So you should be able to, even if that one confused you, you should be able to eliminate some of those choices. All right, do number 10.
Ooh, what's the key word there?
The key word, Mr. Spina, is this.
Yeah. That's it, carnivore. And carnivores eat meat.
All the rest of these animals don't really eat meat.
Nope.
All right, let's keep going.
Herbivores. So
Pause, do number 11. Okay, so which of the following features is similar? Now remember, when you see similar, that doesn't mean it happens all the time, but most consistently, most often. Mr. Spina, what do you see in Florida most of the time?
that's drought in the winter, even unless you have that El Nino and stuff like that, but that's not all the time. That's every few years.
And it's important that you look at each one of these choices and eliminate them. It never snows in Florida, so it can't be A. Now, we do have droughts, but remember, in the summer, it rains every day. When it's hot in the summer, it rains every day. And no temperature year-round. Well, we know that's not true because it's cold outside today, but it's usually 100 degrees. All right, let's keep going. Do number 12. So, Mr. Spina, what type of rock did the woolly mammoth fossil form in? That's the old kind of rock. Which one is it?
Sedimentary.
You've got to, we're going to talk more about this. You've got to memorize these three. But just remember, this one is definitely lava. Oh, that's the one I know for sure. I never missed that one.
Yeah.
Oops.
Ooh, the next one coming up, 13.
Number 13. Pause it, take a look at it, and get your answer. Okay, Mr. Spina, we were just debating with Mrs. Spina about this question.
Yeah.
And she says plants do have organs, and we're going to have to look more into that. But remember, your answer is C for this one, because organs for plants, number one, they don't really show us that in any of our stuff. But even if they did, this is pointing here.
Right.
So even if we can prove a plant has does have organs, this is actually the root system, so it's not pointing at the right thing. So
correct.
Even if we can prove that a plant has organs, that's pointing at, we know the roots. So C would be the one.
That is right.
All right, take a second, pause the video, and do number 14. Okay, Mr. Spina, so they want to know, what is your prediction? Here's the keyword, prediction.
Well, look at it so far. What is it doing? Well, you can just look at the trend.
This just keeps going like this. So chances are it is going to
continue
keep going up a lot.
Yep.
It's probably not going to remain the same, because did it remain the same hardly ever on here? No.
The trend is going up.
Number 15, pause and do it.
Ooh, Mr. Conklin, what do you think about this one?
So the keywords are, always just look to the question, what could people use? Water vapor. Now we know when the water vapor goes up in the air, that's because we're boiling and it's getting really, really hot, right? So let's look at the choices. Washing your food. You don't necessarily, remember, you got to pick the best one, because a lot of you guys might go, oh yeah, I need hot water to wash my food. But remember, we're talking like boiling, steaming hot.
Yeah.
That would be best for cooking your food, right? You're not going to water your plants with hot water. You can't keep anything frozen.
No.
So you should immediately be down to these two choices. And this is when we say don't rush, don't go too fast, because A and C are both answers that would make sense. You have to pick the best one.
Yeah, but water vapor, it's the thing about when you're boiling water.
I guess that is true.
Yeah.
You couldn't go like this. If there was water vapor, that steam is what cooks your meat and your vegetables, the steam. But you can't put your hands in the steam and wash them. That really wouldn't
be
right?
good.
Don't let that one confuse you. All right, do number 16.
Closed container.
Okay, the keywords in this, Mr. Spina just said it, is closed container. That makes your answer C, because remember, if it's closed, as that water starts to turn to steam and evaporate, it stays inside, right? It can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it stays inside. But if you don't pay attention to closed container, you would think that it would decrease.
Yeah.
But remember, whenever it's closed, it's going to usually stay about the same. All right, do number 17. Ooh, number 17 is long. So which of these observations was a change that did not create a new material? So it did not create something new. Well, the rusting of the car is creating rust on the car. So that's something new.
Burn that candle down.
If you burn a candle, it's going to get smaller.
Yeah.
If you grill a steak, it's totally going to change, right?
Yep, it's cooked.
Now, if you cut the grass,
Still
there's still going
grass.
to be the same amount of grass, right?
Yeah, it's still grass, just cut up.
It
That's
didn't create any new material. The same amount of grass is still there. It's just cut up. So your answer would be D.
D.
All right, let's go on to number 18. Mrs. Brown was doing the dishes and her son Henry handed her his cold ice water glass to wash. She placed the cold glass in the sink. It was full of hot soapy water. What will happen? What will happen to the temperature of the cup? So he had a cold cup and he put it in hot water.
Hot water. Come on. That's a gimme. There you go. It's going to warm the cup.
Remember, the water is, there's a lot more of the water than the cup, right? So it's not going to go the other direction. Like in A, I suppose could happen if there was like just barely a little bit of water. In science, Mr. Speen, you have to think of the most logical thing, right?
That is true.
Because you could make an argument that a cold cup in a little bit of water, maybe it would switch it the other way. But think about it. That's not usually how it goes, right?
You know what? Yeah, you're washing a sink full of water. There you go.
All right, let's look at, pause the video and do number 19.
Ooh, Mr. Compton, this one is the law. When you think about sailboat, what is sailboat? How do you get a sailboat to move? That's a gimme.
That should be a gimme. You should know when you're out on the water and you put that sail up there so the wind hits it, right?
Yeah, that's a gimme.
Now, it could be heat energy. If this said it was a boat that had an engine on it, then it could be heat or even electrical. All right, number 20. So here's the keyword not, and you're talking about plants and how they reproduce differently.
Yeah.
So you've got to know that pollination, germination, and fertilization are all plant terms, right? I don't even know what transpiration is. Do you?
Remember we studied that when the water's going up. Exactly, it's transpiring.
So that's not one of them, right? Because that has to do with water, the water cycle.
Yep, transpiration is the water coming off plants.
Well, I don't even remember that, but okay.
Yeah, we did that last week.
All right, number 21. Mrs. Rodriguez class went a field trip to the zoo, and one of the zookeepers was telling the students all about elephants. Some of the traits of elephants are inherited from their parents, while other behaviors they learn on their own. What is one trait that an elephant might have learned on its own? So you have to think about the thing that it's going to learn on its own, right?
Right, that's not taught.
Think about the one thing it would learn from its environment that it wouldn't just know from its mom. So staying close to the mother, all babies just do that on their own, right? Doesn't everybody stay next to?
Natural.
Drink with its trunk. You guys just took the bottle right in your mouth and just took it, right? You didn't have to learn it or anything.
No.
And to trumpet with its trunk. Trumpet with its trunk. What does that even mean?
That's when they're communicating with each other, probably.
Oh, probably talking.
Yes,
oh, I got you. That's
communication.
Don't let that trick you. Coming to the gate during feeding time, they learn when the person is going to feed them, and it will come every time.
Hey, Mr. Compton, I bet you Nene does that when you open a can or shake something. She comes running. She's learned that.
Do you know what Nene likes? Whenever Luke opens a cheese stick, you know the cheese stick makes that sound. That's when he
Nene
comes
knows.
All right, number 22.
Ooh,
So how are alligators and frogs different is our basic question.
Ooh, that first one's ridiculous. Frogs are carnivores?
Yeah, see, that doesn't make... Mr. Speen and I are going to have to do these ones with you because we haven't gone over these ones yet. So let's do it, Mr. Speen. Frogs live near water and alligators live in dry areas. Alligators don't live in dry areas. They live by water. That doesn't make sense. Frogs come from eggs and alligators have a live birth. Do alligators really have a live birth?
No eggs.
Alligators have eggs too, right? Yeah.
Yep, eggs.
Frogs go through a metamorphosis and alligators are born looking like an adult.
There it is.
That would be your answer.
Yeah.
All right, number 23. Pause the video and get your answer. Okay, which example lists a human change and the problem it has created? So it's something humans do.
Ooh. Looks like A.
This one's tricky, but it
Uh,
is A.
Deforestation's cutting down the trees, and which would endangered species have nowhere to go. Would they die when they can't use cutting their homes down?
Oh, do these things have to be connected too, right?
Yes, they're connected.
That's why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because we do pollute the Everglades, but that doesn't make melting of the ice caps because the Everglades is hot and the ice caps is cold.
Yeah. Air has nothing to do with fresh water. Yeah. And then global warming and acid rain.
Mr. Spina, you get to the fourth grade questions, they start to get a little more complicated. I hope everybody's seeing
You
that.
got to pay attention.
All right, number 24, pause and do it. How long will it be until the Earth and Moon Sun return to this exact position? You guys should know that. We've talked about this. It is 1 full year for it to go all the way around.
All the way around. 365 and a quarter days.
All right, number 25. Marta and Lindsay were hiking in a local park and came across some very interesting rocks. Sorry, Mr. Spina, I have to start reading these because we haven't done these yet. Mr. Franks, the teacher, told the girls they had actually found a mineral, not a rock. Which test would be least useful to determine which mineral they had found? Well, remember, luster is the look, hardness is the feel, streak is the kind of design. Isn't that like the designs in it and stuff like that?
Yeah, the streak is when you can literally rub it onto something.
But now the weight really wouldn't help them determine if it was a mineral or a rock. So the weight, remember, you've got to know that these are characteristics here. And even though the weight is a characteristic, it's not going to help you determine which is which. It's the least usable one. Look, correct. And it does say least useful. These are all, this is when they trick you in science, Mr. Vino, when they say least useful, because these are all ways. These here are all ways. But the weight is going to be the one least likely to help you identify it.
That's exactly right.
Ooh, that one could be tricky. Ooh. All right, do number 26. Frances went to see the latest space launch with her parents last week. She came to school and told her teacher and her class all about what it was like. Frances shared that space exploration and research had helped Florida communities. Which fact below does not support Francis's statement that space exploration has helped Florida?
Oh, I get that one. Help get rid of some of the Everglades?
Yeah, is getting rid of the Everglades
has nothing to do with it.
Well, and is getting rid of the Everglades good? Is that helping the community?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with space.
And look, the rest of these are good. Help emphasize math and science, increase tourism, and brought more jobs.
They don't have to do with space. The Everglades has nothing to do with space.
Plus, you have to think about it. Is getting rid of the Everglades is not a good thing, right? No. All right, let's go on to number 27.
Oh, Lenny.
Lenny and Carl were building a ramp for their bikes. They wanted to build a ramp that would allow them to go the farthest distance possible in the air. How could they test the ramp to maximize the distance? So now this is another one. You got to read all the choices and pick the one that makes the most sense, right? Ride different bikes over the ramp without change. If they never change the ramp, their distance is never really going to change. Some of you will get tricked and you'll think, "Oh, we'll try different bikes," but that's not really drastically going to change things, right?
You got to change the height, right? It's B.
Right. Changing the height of the ramp is what's going to give you the most.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Change, right?
Remember we did that in second grade, Mr. Conklin, with the cars.
Yeah, the little cars.
Yeah, that was exactly right.
And see, they start to make the words in a lot of these very confusing for you guys. But riding bikes and skateboard and scooters over the ramp and you got to know that changing that angle is what is going to change the distance you go. So this is another one where there's really none of these that totally don't make sense. You got to pick the best one. All right, number 28. Pause and get your answer. So Lisa designed an experiment to test which type of magnet was the strongest. She tied heavy washers together and was going to see how many bundles each magnet could lift. Unfortunately, all the magnets seemed to be able to lift the exact same amount. She knew that some magnets were stronger than others. The experiment she set up didn't find the answers to the problem. So what should she do next? So she did an experiment and she needs to find out and it didn't really work. It all just came up the same way, right?
Gotta be D.
So quit. I'll give you a little hint on your test. Quit is never the answer.
No, don't
Giving up
quit.
and quitting.
Don't ask the teacher.
During an experiment, now you can talk. See, that's when you guys will get tricked because you'll say, "Oh, I'd ask the teacher if I was messed up."
Oh,
But it says it asked the teacher for the answer. If this one said ask the teacher for help with what to do next, maybe that would make sense. But just asking for the answer doesn't make sense. And looking up online, that's basically cheating.
yeah, it is. It's D. It's got to be D.
So you got to pick the most positive answer. And the most positive answer is to come up with another way. Is basically that's them saying keep trying, right?
Exactly. Think outside the box.
Oh boy, Mr. Spina.
Ooh,
Let's
look
do
at
these
this
last
one.
4, Mr. Spina. We'll just do them together. You guys can pause us if you want, but we have to read these and come up with them. So Marcus and Terrell completed an experiment and they completed this table.
Yeah.
What conclusion should Marcus and Terrell make and why?
You got to read through it.
This one, you got to read each choice and figure out which one makes sense. Now, when I look at their chart, the one thing that I see that looks weird to me before I even start, I mean, it's all the same numbers. So that kind of makes me think maybe they didn't do something right, but I don't know.
It's just
Let's take a look.
a small variation in a couple of them.
What conclusion could they make? Oh, yeah, I guess there is some 77s in there.
Yeah.
Oh, 79.
Small.
Mr. Spina, my vision went cross-eyed on me. I thought they all were 78s. All right, so the water will not change temperature much over 10 minutes.
Sounds
Well,
like it.
here's 10 minutes, and here's what they started at, 78, 78.
That's right. It didn't change much.
That's
I like
not
that
changing
answer.
much, so I think that's the answer.
I like that answer.
It's impossible to tell what will happen. There's no way of finding that.
No, you have a chart.
Anytime a choice tells you something's impossible, that's not right. The water will get hotter in the sunlight. Sample 4 got hotter. Well, that's not even true.
Sample 5 is different. Yeah,
Sample 4 did not get harder, so that doesn't make sense. And then, I don't know, it didn't talk about sunlight, water in the sunlight. So, yeah, you just got to get that one.
Yeah, just you can look at that and tell it barely changed. Ooh, we talked about this.
So Maria was on a nature walk with some friends and they saw a plant growing out of a crack in a rock. What will happen to the rock over time?
Crack it.
So the plant will weather the rock. That's not true. The plant will erode the rock.
Yeah, you gotta look at that. That means wear it away. The plant will eat away at the rock. It's gonna crack it. That's
And
what
make it bigger?
It's not
Will it
gonna
make
make
it
it bigger.
bigger?
It's gonna break it into pieces. Yeah, because remember, that's what ice does up north. It literally destroys sidewalks because it expands, and that's what's happening here. Is the plant is
Because the plant will keep growing.
right?
So which one do we say? Eat away the rock?
Yeah, because what's going to happen? The plant will be killed by the rock. No, because it's going to continue to go. So cross out D. The plant will weather the rock. No, because plant weathering has to do with rain and ice and stuff like that. So now you're down to 2 choices.
Isn't erode and weathering?
Wears it away, and the plant will eat away at the rock. It's not going to be less rock. I would think it's B, because you're still going to have the same amount of rock. It's just going to split it. So it's got to be, it will erode the rock. Well,
Yeah, because it would make it crack, and then I guess it would move away. All right. 31.
Ooh, there's more.
What part of the scientific method is she describing? That's our question.
It's hard to even see that. Ooh, doing experiments.
Rosa would like to grow some beans in her garden. She wants to find out which conditions will make the beans grow best. She decides to use the scientific method to find out the best condition for growing the beans. Rosa designed the following experiment. So she did different setups.
Yeah, she set up the experiment there. So she has different variables going in there.
So it's got to be variables, right?
Yeah, you have different variables because she did it 3 different ways.
Don't get confused and think this is step-by-step instructions, because she set up the experiment 1, 2, 3 different ways. And she changed the things that she did in the experiment. So she changed the variables. She
Yeah,
definitely, everybody agreed, it's not a conclusion or hypothesis, right?
no,
So you should be down to 2 choices. And this right here is not step-by-step directions. So it's got to
Nope.
be B. And the last one.
yay.
On his walk home, Roberto notices a lot of erosion on the side of one hill following a heavy rain. He wonders why one hillside shows more erosion than others. He set up the following experiment. Using a watering can similar. Oh, I did this in 4th grade when I was a 4th grade teacher like 7 years ago. Using a water can, Roberto pours the same amount of water on each tray. And what can you predict Roberto will observe as when he pours the water onto them? So this one just has soil, this one has soil and gravel, and this one has soil and grass. So the tray with the soil and grass will show the most erosion is A. The tray with soil and gravel will not erode at all. Or C, the tray with only soil will erode the most. Or D, all the trays will erode the same. Well, it's definitely not D because the things
Because
that
you
we're
have different
using.
variables.
So now we need to think what's least likely to move when we pour water on it. Soil is loose and turns to mud and is probably the most likely to move, right?
Yep.
Now, each one of these says soil, but the tray with only soil will erode the most.
Yeah, because when you pour it in, just think about it, it's just going to run off like into mud immediately. It's nothing to slow it down.
I think I don't have the answer to these
I would
last
say
4.
it's
So
C. It's C.
I think the grass and gravel will actually stop some of the erosion from happening.
Yeah,
So I think your answer would be C.
I agree.
Okay, people, that was a good review.
That
Take
was
these answers and put them into your Canvas tile, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
That was
Bye.
good.